tasered and then dragged out of the car when the cops just busted through the window. And then they go on to say, in general, police officers are allowed to ask passengers inside of a stopped vehicle for ID, and they can also request that they exit a stopped vehicle for the officer's safety without a requirement of reasonable suspicion. So notice those two words. They can ask and they can request, but also people have the right to deny those requests. Now, officers basically can't just bust out your window and then drag you out of your vehicle because you are trying to get your ID that they requested, and then all of a sudden they become afraid, which I just do not understand. At what point in America did being a police officer become a zero-risk job? That is why you always keep the cameras rolling. Of course, these people are going to be taking action against the Hammond Police Department, and several officers involved in that altercation already have some lawsuits for using excessive force in the past. So I think it's going to turn out lovely for the Jones. Now, coming up, people have been asking for the release of the 28 pages that have been taken out of the 9/11 Commission report. Well, we're going to take a closer look at U.S. ties with Saudi Arabia. And then Motherboard wants to know why conspiracy theorists have such a big problem with transhumanism. Well, we'll show you why right after this.
Then I would ask, based on all that's transpired over the past week, should Texas families remain confident in the ability of our public health system to respond to infectious diseases of this nature?
Because the patient had no symptoms on that flight, had no fever, had no symptoms on those flights, it was actually 2 flights over, there is virtually no risk. You can push me as far as you want to say 0. I will not say 0. It's knowing what I know, there is 0 risk. I said it, there it is. I shouldn't say that. There's no risk. There's no risk. Ebola virus could be sitting there, and if I'm touching it with unbroken skin, it's not a risk.
DNA Force.
When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in.
DNA Force.
No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies.
DNA Force.
We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
DNA Force.
The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com.
Vice President Joe Biden put both feet in his mouth with these statements.
Our allies in the region were our largest problem in Syria. The Turks were great friends, and I have a great relationship with Erdogan, which I've just spent a lot of time with. The Saudis, the Emiratis, etc. What were they doing? They poured hundreds of millions of dollars and tens, thousands of tons of weapons into anyone who would fight against Assad, except that the people who were being supplied were al-Nusra and al-Qaeda and the extremist elements of jihadis coming from other parts of the world.
As Biden feverishly rolls back his testimony to placate the Saudi Arabian royalty and the U.S. importation of 5 million barrels of oil per day, a war-weary American public grows increasingly aware of the evidence within Biden's account. The potential paradigm shift concerning key players on the world stage awaits the inevitable release of the classified 28 pages within the official 2002 9/11 Commission report. In the guise of national security, former President George Bush classified the portion regarding specific sources of foreign support. Congressman Walter Jones is spearheading the movement that is amounting to be an embarrassing and possibly criminal account of the Bush administration's involvement with Saudi Arabia.
I can honestly tell you, when you've got the former two chairmen, Senator Bob Graham, retired now, lives in Florida, from Florida, and Richard Shelby, still in the United States Senate, and their inquiry commission said that, yes, it should be declassified. Then you've got Hamilton and Kane, as recently as 3 weeks ago, former members of the House, and then the former governor of New Jersey, Kane, saying it should be declassified. And there's no reason the American people should not see the truth. It was George Bush that classified this information. Mr. Obama owes nothing to George Bush, but he does owe to the families of 9/11 the right to see the 28 pages, and certainly the American people.
As the puppet masters scramble to manage their diversions,
and if the outbreak is not stopped now, we could be looking at hundreds of thousands of people infected.
the cozy relationship between our government and the Saudi Arabians finds itself under developing scrutiny.
I took this action to assist the Saudi Arabian government in the defense of its homeland.
Prince Turki Al Faisal of Saudi Arabia, those of you who were there yesterday in the season know that I said that he and I went to college together and that everybody knew he was going to amount to something, but no one knew that I would. And it may have turned out that way. He, for more than 2 decades, was the head of the Saudi intelligence services. And I said that at least when I was president, he didn't have to spy on the United States. He could just call me and I'd tell him.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia declared the beheadings of 26 people since August 18th. Beheadings for crimes ranging from sorcery to smoking hashish. Wealthy, elderly Saudi men are using the Syrian refugee crisis to increase their exploitation of young Syrian females. And Saudi Arabia enacted a strict visa ban to Ebola-afflicted countries, while American borders remain open and a large pandemic looms in the very near future if present conditions aren't met. Now that culture of death dictates the future of America as the CIA-trained ISIS continues to promote itself as the boogeyman in the Saudi-funded and engineered war of terror supported by corporate media and a lapdog federal government. In the words of Adolf Hitler, make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it.
We are working hand in glove with the Turks, with the Jordanians, with the Saudis, so that when Assad goes, and he will go, there will be a legitimate government that follows on, not an al-Qaeda-sponsored government that follows on.
John Bound, INFOWARS.com.
I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox Special at InfoWarsLife.com.
Introducing the first proprietary oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, OxyPowder, backed by FDA-approved phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. All the toxins from the air, the food, the water ultimately ends up in the gut or affects the gut. Take your health into your own hands and start cleansing your body today with OxyPowder. Secure your OxyPowder today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
Congress, starring Robin Wright and directed by Ari Folman, has just finished a limited U.S. theatrical run and is now available for rental online at places like Amazon and iTunes. Now, when I looked at the trailer, I thought this was going to be a film that really kind of focused on the radical technological changes that are coming as we see many jobs in virtually every industry being replaced by artificial intelligence and robots. Regardless of what industry you're in, whether it's manufacturing or service, or whether you're working at a low-level job or even as a professional, your job will be impacted, if not entirely replaced, by new technology. The Congress explores how this disruptive technology would affect Hollywood, displacing actors, even the animators that eventually move their digital avatars. But the movie takes a much broader look at a future dystopian society where people are essentially enslaved by entertainment, where they live in a virtual existence. The irony is that many people will avoid this movie or not finish it because they don't find it entertaining enough. But that's how close we are to the dystopian future that it looks at. The Congress is a film that echoes an archetypal warning that's been presented by many great artists over many decades, and that is, once we live in a society characterized by fantasy and deception, it opens a door to authoritarian dictatorship. Based loosely on Stanislaw Lem's The Futurological Congress, it stars Robin Wright as herself, as an actress whose decisions have so frustrated the Hollywood machine that they refuse to work with her ever again unless she signs a one-time contract, a one-time fee, where they will capture her entire appearance and personality into a digital model. Now, of course, she will never be allowed to ever work again. This is something that's going to happen in many industries as people, even professionals, work with programmers to create artificial intelligence that is going to take over their job, where they will never, ever work again in their field or area of expertise. The Congress also stars Harvey Keitel as Robin's agent and Danny Houston as Jeff Green, president of a major movie conglomerate, Paramount Films. The film begins with Hollywood's next technological leap forward, a completely realistic digital version of an actor or actress that makes it look like the actor is in the film. And of course, they've used this in a lot of action science fiction films to replace actors in very dangerous or impossible sequences. The sphere of lights and camera that are shown in the film capturing Robin Wright's image is an actual device that's already been used. But once they go beyond the distant shots or the small action shots and go to actual virtual actors, that's something that's going to change not only the process of filmmaking, but movies in general. And this is where the Congress really gets interesting. After they flesh out the concept of virtual actors, the film jumps 20 years into the future. And ironically, even though Robin Wright was very reluctant to be a part of this digital reality, she is the last remaining major Hollywood star that actually has a real-life person attached to them. So she's sent to the Futurist Congress. And so she's selected to be a part of the Futurist Conference, where they're going to announce the next big step forward, inhaling an actor's genetic code, creating a controlled hallucination of the actress or movie, completely controlled by the unconscious. This Futurist Conference, this Congress, is really where the live acting ends and pretty much most of the rest of the movie is animated. Now, the animation style is kind of a combination of classic animation and modern techniques, but it is filled with provocative subliminal sexual references, almost as if they're kind of making fun of the way Madison Avenue and the Hollywood studios like Disney have done this in the past. At the Congress, the president of Paramount Films reveals the actual plan: the complete corporate control of all human thought via pharmaceutical technologies. For those who attend the Congress, the hallucinations never end because they put the pharmaceuticals in the drinking water. An announcer romanticizes what he portrays as a utopian future, where you can be whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, where you have everything in abundance. But of course, it's simply an illusion. And if you're a dissenter or if you're defiant in any way, you will be eliminated.
And why should the roller coaster stop here? Wright's characters then moved 70 years into this future, a world divided by those who are part of the mass hallucination world and those who opted to live life in reality. While this part of the movie might seem like pure science fiction, look again. The world that's being illustrated here is one that's been described by top futurists for many decades now. Aldous Huxley famously predicted a world where people learn to love their servitude to the state through psychotropic and behavior-controlling drugs.
It is possible